Hi friends, welcome back to Manifest with Armine. My name is Armine and I'm a love attraction consultant. This video is to report to you how my conversation went with Neville Goddard's namesake, Neville. And I was so excited to speak to him, and it was such a great experience. I kind of want to start this conversation off by I call it conversation because I'm sure I'll get comments in the later on. But yeah, I want to start the conversation off by saying that, sometimes or oftentimes when we think of Neville or anyone tied to him, like Lyndall or anyone who knew him, or even my excitement for like his daughter. Like once a year, I've told you guys, I go and drop off like a small gift for her birthday every year in front of our house, and I do that for myself because it makes me happy. But there is an element, where you feel like this is like a celebrity for you because she's so closely tied to a figure that means such a great deal for us because Neville's work was so important in our lives, and it really has brought so much understanding. Well, it's reminded us, the nature of who we are, and while Neville strongly reminded us that he said, "I want no church, no ism, just to tell you who you are, what our nature is." That's so important, I think, to remember, because when things like this happen and we get excited about hearing about someone who's tied to Neville, we tend to kind of make them into a celebrity in our minds. But when it comes down to it, they're human beings. Just because they were tied to Neville doesn't mean that you want to either idealize them in a way or just see them as a form of entertainment, because that's not what it is. Like these stories that are tied to Neville Goddard's namesake, some of the stories are very personal that we've heard through Neville's lectures or books. So it's first thing is to remember that these are people. They're not just stories we're hearing. They're not just characters. And when he was briefly speaking about his brother, I asked him, because he was telling me the story about one of the spiritual awakenings that his mom had. It was, about when she had some type of closure on his brother's passing. I asked him, I said, "Have you heard that lecture online of Neville speaking about that event?" And he said no, and he just knows it from what they told him. And he said that certain things he prefers to not really hear it through YouTube, because those are stories that are personal to him, and it's kind of strange to hear it, on a public forum. So just like keep that in mind. This is like a person who did and is processing things that were part of their life, just like we process things that we experience of all sorts. So I'll say that Neville Goddard was Neville's godfather. If you haven't heard the stories about their family through Neville's lectures or books, look it up. Neville or Neville Mark. His mom's name was Louise Berlay. She actually has a book, I think it's called Magic of Your Mind, which is a really great book, by the way. I recommend you read it. Some libraries have it, but they sell it online. So yeah, Neville was Neville Goddard's godson. They both, for decades, I guess, lived in the Los Angeles area. So when they would go over to Neville Goddard's house to visit him, Neville's wife would make brownies for Neville and his brother, which I thought was, kind of cool, because, just reminds you that kids are kids. And so that was one little insight that I thought was kind of cute. Also, let's see. So Neville remembers Neville Goddard as very jovial, and this is, I think, how we imagine him, as just like a pleasant to be in his presence, and sort of like a prankster kind of energy, just light, and it felt good to be in his presence. So that was nice to hear. And that he mentioned that there was a family vacation taken where Neville took them to Barbados to his like family home, or the, you know, where his family was there. And Neville Goddard offered Neville his first cocktail. I believe he said it was when he was 14 years old. So we all know Neville didn't have any quibbles anymore about alcohol, like he had earlier in his life experience. So he enjoyed a drink every day at least. So that was kind of interesting to hear about. So he told me about how he asked if I knew how Neville met his wife. So we know the story about when Neville saw his wife and decided, this is the woman I'm going to marry, and the process about how he was technically still married to his ex-wife, to his first wife, and then he had to kind of like, well, he manifested that, and then there was the court date, and he was granted the divorce that she previously had refused, the first wife. Anyway, so but he actually met his wife, who was the mother of his daughter, because, let's see, well, Neville was involved in show business right before that, and his wife, whose name was Wilhelmina, I believe, her father worked at Radio City Music Hall in New York City. So he had some role there, and that's how they actually met. They met through her dad, who worked at Radio City Music Hall. Neville performed there, obviously. Radio City Music Hall, if you don't know, is a huge performance venue in New York City. So it was through that venue and ties through that they had met. So Neville Mark expressed that he was interested in Abdullah, because he really didn't hear a lot of stories about exactly, you know, who he was, and like he had heard stories here and there, but he didn't have that much information on his actual identity, and he was curious to learn more, like most of us are. Let's see. He said Neville always had a gleam in his eye. Just took a few notes here. Yeah, and you know, if you guys have any questions, let me know. I kind of have to go out and pick up my daughter right now, but if you have any questions, let me know. I will send Neville a link to this video. He said that he does listen to YouTube videos of Neville once in a while. You know, hearing his voice is, you know, obviously it's nostalgic for him probably, and just a really nice guy. He's involved in different organizations. He is involved in like Zen Buddhism, and I believe he writes. That's something I'll ask him again if I speak to him, because I didn't ask him in much detail about what he writes, and I believe he did or was creating art as well. So those are some things that I'd like to learn more about. But as for now, that's the update I have for you guys. Thank you so much for watching, for showing interest in things that I'm interested in. And I'm just going to say, let's respect his privacy. But if you have any questions, you know, let me know. I will email him once in a while to keep in touch. And have a great day, guys. Talk to you soon.